Good morning, everybody. You are currently listening to a Tall Girls podcast hosted by a tall girl named India. I hope everyone who is tuning in is doing super fantastic today. We are joined by two super special guests today. We have Briy and Lucky here. One model and one retired model, but she has experience in the industry too. Hi guys, how are you guys doing today?
Hey, India, I'm good. Just, chilling. How are you?
I'm in school, so that kind of answers that question. But yeah, take a second or two to just like introduce yourselves and just like let the audience know who you guys are and your background and stuff.
My name is Briy. I started modeling like 14 years ago. Yeah, 14 years ago. I'm originally from the DC metropolitan area, so I started down
Hey,
there.
shout out to DC.
What up, DMV in the building? Yeah, so I was doing all the local runway shows. And then like towards the end, which for me was year 4, I was doing more like print work. And then I moved to New York City in 2015 after I walked one of my first New York Fashion Week shows. And this is how long ago it was. This is when they still did it at Lincoln Center. So
Ooh.
that was one of the first New York Fashion Week shows I ever watched. And then I moved to New York like I want to say like 6 months later. And then yeah, since then I've done print, commercial, I did some TV work for a while, New York and Paris Fashion Week. And yeah, so now I'm quote unquote retired, but I do pop out for the right causes and for the right brands. So that's me.
What about you, Lucky?
Yes. Well, hey guys. Some of you may recognize my voice, some may not. It's your girl Lucky D. I am a multidisciplinary artist, but we're here to talk about, modeling. So I've only been modeling compared to Bree. I'm a baby. I'm a little over 2.5 years old. I started modeling in, well, I guess I would say the beginning was when I first came out with my clothing brand because I am a fashion designer. And so when you first come out with the brand, you have to model the clothes. So I had to come from behind the screen, go onto the screen, and I was, doing some modeling then. And I met another model, and she really kind of introduced me into the modeling world. That was 2018, going into my last year in college. That's really when I started, trying to take it seriously, get into it, figure out what it is. And yeah, I've been doing it then. Took a year off for injury, don't walk for a year. So I kind of go back into it 2019, end of 2019, start of 2020. So I guess I'm a baby. Yeah, 2.5, 3 years.
I am so sorry to hear about your injury, but you know what? I'm glad that you bounced back and you are back better than ever. So I just want to, get into your guys' journeys as a tall model and kind of the significance of height in your career because, you know, the most common thing that many people think when you see a tall person, especially a tall woman, if it's not like sports like basketball or volleyball or anything of that sort, their head goes straight into modeling. Oh, do you model? Everybody thinks that if you're tall, you can be a model. But I am sure that there's a lot of challenges around that, especially a DM that I posted on my story. It was actually Lucky who sent me a message about a lot of her challenges with being tall in the modeling industry. And then that kind of just got me like a whole slew of messages, not just from other models or former models as Brie, but also people who were just very unaware of the challenges relating to height. So it doesn't necessarily have to be about height, obviously, but can you guys just like each reflect on your journey as a tall model, like where you were the challenges before entering the industry, like what advantages also have you encountered, the challenges you've encountered, and like have you always questioned pursuing like a modeling career full time? Like I just want to hear like what the vibe is with that.
Okay, yeah. So I'll say in my case, my journey with all this started in my high school. I went to Blake High School in Silver Spring, Maryland.
Okay, I know about it.
And yeah, and we had a fashion club. And I remember even getting into the modeling in my fashion club was a challenge for me. I had so many, like, I wasn't a popular kid by any means. I was definitely in the art classes. And even when I finally got in, it was always a thing of like, oh, Briy just got in there because she's tall. So it was more working on my walk, being better in whatever way. And I remember, now that I'm thinking about it, there was like some upperclassman. I just remember her name was Jenny. And I definitely remember I messed up something during runway class and she just like yelled at me like she was my parent or something. And she was just really nasty and just rude. The more that I dealt with that within the industry, because it seems like I've always have dealt with some adversity at some point, whether it was like she's only here because she's tall, she doesn't know how to pose. There's always been that type of adversity. And it's just one of the times in my life where I'm like, I just want to do this thing that I think should be simple, but you're making it hard. And now I'm going to push back and put my foot on your neck.
Period.
So here's what happens. Paris Fashion Week, and we're all lined up to walk. And there's this designer who came in with a picture of himself on the shirt. And I remember, now mind you, this is about, I think this is, yeah, it was 2020. So I've been doing the modeling thing for 10 years at this point. And I just see him and I see him with the picture of himself on his shirt. I'm like, oh, this guy's arrogant. And then, of course, he's being mean to the models, saying like, oh, you look like a baby deer, all that stuff. So I'm like, oh, I've dealt with this type before. I'm going to crush him. So I remember this is the first time, too, where I'm like, I'm going to channel all the anger I'm holding towards people like this. And I'm going to put in my walk. So I walk. He pulls me aside. I'm ready to fight. And he pulls me in front of everyone. It says, y'all need to walk like her. And I'm like shocked. I'm like, oh, he likes my walk. Okay, I already just decided I hated you. But okay, cool. I got it. I got the gig. Yay. So I think that's just been my journey with modeling in general for me. It's always been a thing of like, oh, you can't do this because of this. And I'm like, based on everything I've researched, which I've done a lot in my journey too, I know for damn sure I can do this. So I don't know why you think you can tell me that I can't, but I'm going to show you I can. And I'm not going to make you eat your words, but you're going to eat my toenails too, because my foot will be on your neck. Just saying. So that's been most of my career, which is probably why I got very tired. And this is why the former is here, because it's a lot. It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of my liver. I'm pretty sure I'm sweating out my deodorant right now too, just talking about it.
What about you, Lucky? Were there like similar struggles as Bree or different experiences?
I would definitely say mine was a little different, especially being so restarted so much earlier than I did, and I didn't even start liking my height until I got into college. So the thought of modeling wasn't really there. I did grow up as an artist, a dancer, and everything, but I ended up gaining stage fright and how others perceive me due to getting bullied for my height. So I kind of shied away from being in the spotlight that I was in. So it wasn't really until, like I was saying, my sophomore year is when I started to create my fashion brand and I really started to, love my height, love myself. And I was like, okay, I want to take this a little further. And then I ended up meeting a model. Unfortunately, we're no longer associates or anything, but I still hold high regard for this person because she is a big factor on why I did get into modeling. Because she invited me to go with her to like on photo shoots, like some of her castings, and then her mom wasn't letting her travel by herself, so I ended up going along with her to most of her castings and shoots like that. It's like, oh, this is This is fun. As someone who grew up an artist, I was like, I love this. And as a fashion designer, I did do a lot of research about tall models, like who's the tallest model out here? What are the average height range for women over 6 feet modeling? And I can tell you the tallest you will get is 6'1", maybe 6'2". There are some like I found maybe one 6'3", but you usually find 6'2", 6'1", 6 foot, 5'11", 5'10", and then you also have all the height caps that a lot of designers, especially nowadays, you see a lot of designers and I guess I would say fashion groups and agencies that do put a lot of height caps on their, I guess I would say, casting flyers. Like, we're casting for this type of model. You need to be this type of this height. So you do see a lot of people who are taller than that height commenting under those posts, like, okay, I'm this height of a model. Can I still submit my information? Because when it comes to submitting to agencies, you have to do your research. Research is very important to try to figure out which agency you want to go to and what will fit you the best, depending on where you want to go with your career, depending if you want to do editorial, if you want to do, runway, commercial, depending on what you want to be as far as modeling goes. So I've definitely had a lot of people tell me things about my height as far as modeling. I guess the most recent thing would be someone told me my arms were too long and my legs were too long.
So I don't think we ever actually got y'all's heights before we like dive deeper into this. So can you please just like say, we'll start with Lucky first. Can you please just say how tall you are?
I'm 6'5.5".
And then you, Briy.
I am, well, professionally, I've been saying 6'2", but I think realistically, I'm probably like 6'1.5". But it doesn't help that the other girls wouldn't say how tall they were too. Because when I was coming up, a lot of girls would say they were 5'11", but we're like the same height. Yeah. So I think technically I'm probably closer to 6'1.5", maybe 6'1", but I've always said 6'2" because I met Carly Claus one time and we're the same height. So that's why.
As you should.
Right.
As you should. I love
Right.
that.
I'm like,
Now,
we're
she's a
eyes.
big inspiration to me. Like, that was one of the names I found when I was doing my research, on different
Yeah.
models.
Yeah. Well, I also, someone who has also done extensive research, I will say one of the tallest models out there was actually Verushka von Lendenhoff.
Yes.
So yeah, she's
Mm-hmm.
6'3". She has the best interview about what she felt about her modeling career, and I think it's the funniest thing ever. Because she basically boiled it down to like, yeah, they just put stuff on me because I was interesting looking and it was a gimmick. And I'm like, you know what? I feel that.
It's definitely true, though. Definitely true.
Yeah.
But I feel as though nowadays, especially in the DC area, being tall and being a model, I won't say it's, not easy, because nothing is ever easy, no matter what height you are, no matter what you want to do. Nothing is ever truly easy. But you have a lot of people that do not cater to tall women and almost kind of look down on your height to a certain extent. I've definitely had a lot of, or maybe it is when you know your worth as a tall person and you know you're being treated a certain way, you're like, okay, like you said, I want to set a fire under my, and really stomp on stuff.
So I have some thoughts as the former DC girly, only because from what I remember about that market, okay, so the way I remember it, because I actually got started with a specific fashion week. I'm only saying it like this because the last time I said something publicly, they threatened to get legal. I don't know if they actually could.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah.
exactly why I got to keep the words.
Well, look, if it was up to me, I'd be saying all the things because I
Oh,
know.
trust me, because
No,
this,
because
yeah.
if we're being for real, the owner of that company tried to act like a pseudo parent to me and a few other people. I was one of the favorites when I first came out. But what I can say is this. The reason I did so much research is because I'm like, the first season I walked for them, every designer I walked for. Like literally all my first runway pictures were from majority of the designers that showed that season. Because I walked in and I was this, and everyone was just like, oh my goodness, all this. Now, I think what we're dealing with now, I think over a decade later, is the rise of social media. And what I realized is that I think that as the fashion industry tries to be more relatable, I think sometimes they'll look at our heights and be like, oh, that's not realistic. Oh, that's like, you know, we can't get someone from like Love and Hip Hop or Real Housewives of Atlanta to wear our stuff. And that's cute. But I also know for me, and I've always known this from the jump, I'm like, I was never gonna give that.
Yeah,
Because
that's yes,
right,
yeah,
right. When I was researching the designers and stuff, I like, as someone who also has a fashion design background, I was living for like the Saint Laurents, the Dior's, the like
Vivienne
the Mugler,
Westwood's,
specifically Thierry
Maison
Mugler. Like,
Margiela. Yes.
well, yeah. So for me, I was like, I wanted the designers who knew what a woman looked like and what a woman with height could look like from a feminine standpoint, because it kind of feels like too, sometimes they will look at our heights and immediately say, oh, androgynous, especially when I decide to be bald headed. I'm like, just because I can gender flip every now and then does not mean that's what my brand gives.
Exactly.
Like if it's giving that for me, it's from a crazy, sexy, cool TLC kind of standpoint, in my opinion. But what you're not going to do is try to take this and rebrand it as non-binary or something like that without my permission, because that's not how I identify. And there's people who do identify that way, and I want them to be represented correctly. So y'all trying to put that label on me because you think this means something? Nah, not for me. So, and that's also why I decided to move to New York, because I got tired of like the fashion shows where like I'm walking in shows with girls that are like 5'5" and like are trying to be right with the stripper shoes.
Preaching.
Girl, I remember.
Girl, I can tell you.
That's actually a thing. That actually happens.
That's
First of all, these girls, especially no shade, the ones from the troops.
I was just about to say that.
5'5" with all of the weaves and stuff, and the hair and the herring and everything, and the flipping, just doing all the like the leaning all the way back, and the legs stretched out, looking like Clydesdales at the Buzzwire Festival.
Ballroom, because I'm a part of ballroom as well. But there's a difference between your ballroom walk and your high fashion walk. You know what I mean?
Right. And
there's a difference between couture and urban and ballroom. They're all different, and you have to be able to adapt and flip that switch. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing. So the television show I worked on for 3 years was Pose. I was Dominique Jackson's stand-in on the show. Yeah. So I have friends in ballroom here in New York City, and then
you probably know my babies. A couple of my babies were on that.
I probably do, but it's so funny because like there were girls that I was walking with in DC that I didn't know about. I didn't know about ballroom when I was back home.
You're saying like ballroom and like couture and urban, like what exactly are those terms?
Okay. So ballroom, so
it's a community.
Yeah, so I think Lucky should probably lead on this, since Lucky's actually part of the community. I've worked on sets with a lot of people from community, but I think Lucky should start the conversation first on that.
Okay, so as a cis, pansexual, non-binary woman, in ballroom, there are still a lot of things that I need to learn about our history, but I can definitely tell you ballroom is a community of different people. Houses are basically different groups of people in the community that come together, support one another, and at these ballroom shows, we would say, they're basically an entire event. It's like the Met Gala of the community. Every single time it comes around, you have different categories that you're walking. You have Femme, you have Old Way, you have New Way, you have, you know, American runway, you have regular runway. There are so many different categories. You have body, face, big face, okay? And it's such a beautiful thing to be able to be around so many people who are similar but yet so different, but still have a love and support for one another. It's almost the same as being a part of the tall girl community. There are so many of us. We're all so unique and so different, but we all still have similar common factors that bring us together. And that is what ballroom is for the LGBTQA plus community.
Okay. It's just because I've never heard of that before, so I was actually interested in knowing. But that honestly sounds amazing. So you guys were essentially saying that you have these women who are, or people who are 5'5" with super high heels. Were they lying about their height to get into
No.
shows,
And the
or
thing
they were just
is,
allowing them to be in these
it's I do not feel any, I would say, anger, hate, envy, or jealousy towards the shorter women who do want to be a model.
shows? Hmm.
My issue comes in where designers feel as though they no longer have to cater to tall models, and where tall models now feel as though they are now being ostracized and pushed to the side for a woman much shorter than them.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, the world and how society pushes models, they are these beautiful Amazonian goddesses. They're tall, they're elegant, they have long legs, long strides. They are the typical it girl for tall girls. That's how society tries to push it. But coming up in the industry, being a new model, especially nowadays, growing up in DC, you do see a lot of shorter models than, well, I haven't been modeling that long, so I can't really say.
So I have some commentary on that, and this is part of the reason I left. So when it got to the point, because when I was in the DC metro area, you know what, I'm gonna shout them out just because it's whatever. There was an agency. I don't know if they're still in operation, but it was Artist Agency, and they were the ones who were able, from back then, to get models from the DC metro area and have them walk New York shows and get paid. So I knew that I could do the New York market because DC, and this is the biggest thing, and this could be part of the reason why you're seeing that pushback. DC is not a fashion market. As much as
Not anymore, I swear.
it never has been, which is why, and that's why I'm saying that. Like, even when I was there, like, there are people who try, but at the end of the day, it's like the ones who were really about it come out of there.
Oh yeah,
And
that's everyone.
yeah,
As far as artistic things, everyone that I have met that was from DC ended up leaving, and I'm in the
yeah.
process of planning on leaving as well because it just seems as though
Well,
we're getting so much pushback from our city.
yeah, well, it's here's the thing. You can't take it personally because the thing is that DC has no reason to be a fashion market. Even when I worked retail out there, because a girl always has to have a side job in this industry.
Right.
Even when I worked at Bloomingdale's, the people who would shop at the stores were not looking for the most cutting edge of fashion. Even though they tried to act like it, a lot of times they're picking the most popular thing and kind of assimilating. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what it always gave. So when I made the decision to move to New York, it was mainly because like we said, there are the girls who are putting on 6-foot high heels to walk with us. And I'm thinking from a business and fashion standpoint, most fashion shows, they want that uniformity with all the models. To this day, even with now that we're doing more diverse body types, most runway shows, they're keeping the heights pretty the same. Yeah. And I've experienced that here in New York too. So that's like the biggest thing. And I think that at least with New York, like you have the fashion schools here. You have Parsons, FIT, even like the community college, like Kingsborough is another college that does a fashion program here. All the ones that are interacting with international fashion markets that know that most of the time the model standard is about 5'9" to like 6 feet if you're doing couture. And that's one of the other things. Ready to wear, because it's based on the average standard of people here in America. And I think like the average woman in America is 5'3", right? Most of the sample sizes, they don't want it to fit they don't want it to be too long. Otherwise they get returns, all those things. Most people can't afford tailoring or don't believe they can. So when you're going into these markets, they do want to try to keep the clothes to a certain size. But however, I do notice that luxury fashion most of the time does fit the taller person, because those are the people who have the money to get things tailored adequately. So that's the thing. So the biggest thing I can say, and DC may not like this, but this is the truth of the matter. DC is not a luxury fashion market. And that's why they do the whole, oh, we can't use a tall model, because then you see your stuff is not luxury. What you're seeing is that all those clothes you got off AliExpress or you stitched together or whatever, they're not giving actual fashion on a market that's on a level that's actually gonna be scalable and be made into a real business. And that is, once again, another reason why I left.
That's exactly why I love that I've come across someone who's been very vital in my model career, who has helped place me in positions and in places to give me the recognition that I deserve as a model. She's bringing couture to DC, and not just couture from the US, but international couture from all over the world and designers all over the world. She just put on the Global Fashion Couture Week in DC. It was hosted at one of the government buildings right beside the White House. And let me tell you, that was gorgeous. It was fab. I walked for designers from Panama. Shout out to the ancestry, my grandpa. But there were designers from Panama, Spain, Mexico, Ecuador, Brazil, all over the world. And I'm just really loving that there are people in the area who are trying to bring couture to DC, and in that doing so is creating more opportunity for tall girls like me in the area. Even though I don't see myself being there much longer, I do plan on moving out of the country soon. So I plan on taking this thing international. We'll see how that goes too.
Wow, that was a lot. But there was a lot of stuff in there also that I wasn't even aware of either. And it sounds like you guys really had a lot of challenges to get to where you are today and just be, I at least consider you guys successful one way or the other, because success looks different in any and everything that you do. But I just think that getting through the journey and being to where you are today is success in my book. So I want to ask, what is one piece of advice that you guys would want to give to the tall girls listening right now who are struggling with their self-esteem because of their height? And for those who may be looking to get into modeling, Briy, can you start us off?
All right. So my advice comes from my background, and also for a while I've been a model coach for an agency or two. So what I can say is this: definitely make sure that you have the basics down. Figuring out how to pose, facial expressions, and runway. Those are the three biggest things, because those are the things that are going to separate you from the people who are just saying they're a model, especially in this age of influencers and just people who are just saying they do it, don't actually. The most important thing for me as a model is you need to be able to be the noun and the verb. So you need to be a model that models. So especially for the taller girls, because the most people are going to gun at you for either reason, whether it's the people who are shorter than you that are like, oh, she's going to get it anyway, or the people who are like, we don't know how she's going to fit in their collection. So you need to see your height and how you stand out as an asset, especially when it comes to fashion or like fashion, sports, editorial. And if you have a cute face, beauty too, forget yeah. So finding your key things within your personal brand and then going from there. So that kind of means you kind of have to stop slouching, take your height as an advantage, because for better or for worse it is, you're going to stand out anyway. So just profit on that. You're literally a billboard. So be the best billboard.
Oh,
Now
I
end
like
on
that. I like that. What about you, Lucky? What advice would you like to
Wow.
get to us?
What do I even say? Where do I even start? She done went off on the mic and just left it to burn. So now I'm over here, gotta get the fire extinguisher, clear it out to figure out what I'm about to say. Okay. Well, Bree definitely has a lot more experience than I do as a model, being as though I'm still new to modeling. This is my very first New York Fashion Week, so I
Yay.
can't really give off as much wisdom as far as modeling goes, but I can say some things that I have learned in the past couple of months that I've gotten been really back into my modeling career after going away for some time and overcoming, the trials and tribulations of being a little small girl, taller than everyone else and getting bullied. Really, the trials that you go through as a model and the things that you hear as a model are the same things that you went through as a child. If you have ever gotten bullied for being tall when you were younger, those same slight remarks are the same slight remarks that you hear when you become a model. Because, like Bree said, you will have people that assume, oh, you got this just because you're tall. Then you will have people who just will try to not fit you into their work because they already have a scope of, okay, I don't have anyone to cater to that tall. So you really have to, not even to sound generic, but really stand on it and stand tall because, first of all, there's an entire community out there in the world that feels as though they are not being catered to within the fashion industry. There needs to be more true size, tall models because there aren't a lot of brands that are catering to us. We have created those brands that will cater to us. The brands that cater to the rest of the society, it's rare that you'll find pants long enough for our height. And as Bree was saying earlier, even if it is a brand that does cater to us, it's very generic. There's no style to it, no pizzazz. You won't find that same kind of different, unique pieces that you will with the tall collections than you will with every other collection that they produce. So if you want to see that, then be that. Point blank period at the end of the day. Be the person that you desire to see make a change in your world. Be that change. Because if you're not gonna do it, then who is? And this is what I tell myself. If you ain't gonna do it, nobody else gonna do it because no one is you. No one can do things the way you do things. No one is as unique as you are. So do it and stand on it.
I honestly love the little rhyme. If you don't see it, then be it. Girl, what? Bars. I need to put that on like, no, we, because it's your saying. No, you, because it's your saying. You need to put that on a shirt. And I'm gonna buy it from you. I'm gonna buy that shirt.
You're gonna have to text me what that phrase was because I was just going off the I can't even say what I remember.
But honestly, that was great advice from both of you guys. It was just I feel like you guys provided a lot of insight in this episode, especially with a lot of the assumptions that people make. If you're tall, the taller you are, the more likely you are to be a model. It's just very interesting to hear like different perspectives and how, yeah, like people have been called, like, been saying that you, for example, like you were saying earlier, you could be too tall, your arms could be too long for certain brands. And it's just, I feel like this is something that needs to be spoken about and awareness needs to be brought to it because even I didn't know about that. Like people are looking at me saying, "Oh, you're not even that tall," and it's like, well, I'm in the range to be a model, so I don't want to hear anything from you guys. But thank you so much again for the great advice and sharing your stories. I'm pretty sure the audience appreciates it too. Where can we find you guys on the interweb? Like this is your time to like plug yourselves, plug your Instagrams, your websites, whatever you want to do. Where can we find you guys? Okay, well wait, we'll start with Bree first.
Okay, so I have it's at BRIYGILGEOUS on almost every platform out there except for Twitter, because no. And then I have a I have a fashion diary. I'm a little behind on some posts, but that is called What Briy, Briy War. So WORE. So, and it's also, I think it's linked on my main account too, but I'm doing a 75 hard style challenge there. So you basically get to see sustainable outfits on a tall person. So if you want to check that out, that's what I'm doing.
Oh my God, that's so cool. I actually need to follow that after we're finished with this. What about you, Lucky? Where can we find you? Oh, she said she followed you.
I
Oh,
found you, girl.
cool. I think I
Found
had.
you. I got you. Boom. Got another follow. Well, you um I do a lot. So my model account, if you want to follow my model journey at a tall life, literally a tall life. But all of my other pages, because I am a digital creator as well, it's just a tall life with UGC. You want to follow my TikTok, it's a tall life. Twitter, it's a tall life, but you really won't see me on there as much right now. If you have a big O and you like watching live streams, I'm on there too at a tall life as well. Um, if you're wanting to find another tall girl brand and follow tall girl brand, Sky Rose Design, Sky with an E. That's my fashion brand. If you want to join a community of tall girls from all across the world who come together and support each other and, showcase all of our talents on a plethora of a scale, you can follow the Tall Girls Inc. page. India knows a lot about that page.
Yeah.
She's always on the story on there. The goal is really to just promote and bring tall girls together from all areas and corner of the world so that they know they're not alone on this journey to loving themselves and finding out who they truly are, who they truly want to be, because you can be anything you want to be.
I like that. Well, it's okay. Don't worry, y'all. It's all going to be linked in the description because I knew that that was a lot. But I'm going to have the links to all the mains in the description, and then I might as well just plug myself here. You can hit me up at a Tall Girls Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest. You can let me know what you thought of this episode. You can hit Lucky up. You can hit Bree up for any more advice, what you thought about this episode, any and everything that's within reason, of course. And thank you so, so much again, guys, for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. It was just so nice to hear from you guys and hear your stories and stuff. So thank you again for being here.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having us.
No problem. It was a blast being here. I've been dying to come on your podcast, girl. I'm dying to have you on mine
And the
too.
day
Briy, I'm
came.
gonna have to have you on my podcast too, girl. I love bringing on the tall girlies that are doing great things in their areas of life because we deserve light shown on us too because we're doing the thing out here. So
Yay.
thank you for
Yay.
this chance to shine some light on both of our journeys as models and what tall females go through when chasing their dream to become a model.
Of course, 110%. And I definitely want to end this episode on a super, super high note. So I'm going to end it here. Thank you once again, dear listeners, for tuning in. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Good night and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.